One. Sweet. Are we live?
Dude, I think we're live.
I see it. Oh, yeah. It says Live. That spells live. Great. That's fantastic. We made it.
We made it. We made it.
We'll wait a few minutes till it populates. So making a
Dude, this is
population.
going to be awesome. This is going to be a blast.
All right. So, sometimes it takes a while to populate. Okay, people are jumping on.
Welcome, everybody.
Hey, guys.
I don't know who's
going to let it populate for a while. So for just a minute, we'll have fun. And so, okay, Ryan, which movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are you more excited for? Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor?
Oh, man.
Rock or Ragu or something. I don't pronounce it right ever. Or there's like another, like 100 of them. So which one are you looking forward to?
Well, okay, a little bit behind the scenes. I went to see the first Guardian of the Galaxies with my sister, and we came out, and she loved the movie. And I gave it like an 8, which is high for me, but she was disappointed that like I gave it only an 8. I feel like if I don't say Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that I'm going to get some hate mail if Eva sees this broadcast, which is unlikely. So I'm going to go with that just to be on the safe side. But I'm curious for those who are joining us, man. Give
Thor.
us a shout out. Yeah, we got Thor coming in there. But where are you guys watching from? Mark, where are you watching this from?
Mark might be a Tulsa guy, or no, he moved.
Tulsa.
Maybe he's still in Tulsa.
Man, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I grew up in Broken Arrow, so Mark, if you're still in Oklahoma, God bless you.
Yeah, you grew up at the church that I first worked on when I became a full-time pastor, which is really weird because your dad was a board member.
Yeah, you could probably tell some funny stories on my dad.
I will not tell a story about your dad shooting himself with his bow. That will be next time.
Next time on Adventures with David and Ryan and Ryan's dad. Oh, man.
But your dad is a boss. I mean, he drove himself to the hospital. That's boss action right there. So
yeah. I think now, I'm trying to think if he shot himself or if he was pulling it out of the target and pull it through into his leg. I don't know if I've got the full story. It's probably...
Yeah, here's the target. He shot to the target. It went through it and was stuck because it had barbs. And so then, like when he went to the other side to pull it through, and it came through so easy, it stabbed into his leg.
Yeah. Dad, if you're watching, I'm apologize as well.
Oh man, if your dad's watching, that's not. I'm sorry, sir, if I ever get hired there again. So.
Oh man.
Well, I think we have enough people on there. So what we're going to do is, for those watching, there's some people I know that maybe share this. My name's David Lermy, and I'm hosting this for leadinghappy.com, where I do a blog and also some church consulting and some fun there. And we're on broadcasts dealing with church assimilation, or the word I like better is church connections. And Ryan here is with his there's a lot of things you do, Ryan. So kind of
I know.
Church Marketing University is the one that I think is your pretty strong passion right now.
Yeah. So we do social church. That's kind of our free platform, if you will, where we give churches one tip every single week on how to reach more people on social media. And then we have a resource called Church Marketing University. That's kind of our paid premier resource, if you will, that we teach churches how to have a marketing strategy to reach their city. So that's the kind of the two main things I'm involved with in the church world. And then I'm up here in Kansas City, a part of a church plant, Summit Park Church. We're about 3.5 years old. So we moved up here. David and I went to Evangel University together, and he schooled me in all things Greek and all things Evangel. And so we moved up here from Springfield after being on staff at James River, and then doing some church consulting with AD Financial to plant a church. So we got some Republic, Missouri. We got some Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. We got a lot of love from the areas we're familiar with. So
yeah,
welcome everyone. Yeah, so if for everybody, we put in where you guys are from. Would love to know, and then what church you're a part of as well. Just go ahead and put in the comments where you're watching this from, and then what church you're part of. I love to. I kind of have a habit, David, of stalking people's churches on Facebook because I love to see kind of strategies, and so it's a little bit creepy. So, but hey, put in. I'd love to know what church where you're watching it from.
Yeah, guys, do that because I'm a lot like Ryan. Some people collect baseball cards. I collect church fan page. I like church fan page. I had a guy one time literally message me and asked why I went to so many churches. So I said, no. I love the church and I love seeing what people are doing, love creative ideas. But it was hilarious that he asked that because I think if you go on my Facebook page and look at my likes, there's literally probably 300-400 churches on there. It's ridiculous. I
love it. Hey, and David, let me give people a little bit of a tip right off the bat, which maybe people already know this, but what you like with and engage with on Facebook, like Facebook will give you a ton more of that. So you and I, we engage with a lot of churches, and our feed's probably full of that. My wife, on the other hand, engages with a lot of local media here in Kansas City. So every time we go out and go for a walk, I get to hear the latest report on who died and what mushroom hunter found what dead body. And I'm like, honey, that's because you like all those Facebook posts or you look at those. And so Facebook just keeps giving you those over and over again. So that's a little tip. Whatever you engage with on Facebook, you see a ton more of that. So that's just what Facebook does. So
yeah, I like how it was a dead guy that was found during mushroom hunting. That couldn't have been made up. That's got to be like real. That's hilarious.
That's all over Kansas City right now. That's all the local news, unfortunately. But if you ever have a friend too that's like, man, my Facebook feed is all negative, like it's all just negative, you just kind of might be like, well, probably because you're engaging in a lot of negative, comments and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a kind of an interesting thing too. So what you engage with is what you get back on social media. So
right,
little tip there.
Oh yeah.
So man, we got Life 360 Church and Republic. What's up, Dalton?
Dalton's my boy, but he lives close to me. Literally, Dalton could have drove down and hung out with me while we did this, but that's how close he is.
Dalton might knock on the door while we're doing this and just come in and hang out with us.
That would be, oh wow, Orange Beach, we're winning here.
Welcome.
Thanks for jumping on. Margie actually named me the pastor of Happy, so I've always had that title. That's my favorite title, the pastor of Happy. I'm going to keep it for the rest of my life. That's why I actually named leadinghappy.com came from that idea. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
pastor of Happy.
She's awesome. She is a faithful volunteer at LFA, and so I know Ryan was very familiar with our church. Me and Ryan knew each other before he came, but also did some help with our church matrix on planned giving. So that's another thing Ryan knows. I mean, he's like super Ryan. Like I just know, like I read a lot of books, but Ryan has like all this other knowledge. But if you want to know the latest book on business trends or church trends, like just ask. I'll probably have read it.
Oh yeah. We got some LFA people. Nancy's asking, who are you guys? Nancy, we are movie buffs. No, David is a,
this is Ryan.
Church expert, and I do some stuff in social media, and that's us. So
yeah, so we're just two guys that want to equip the church world to do the best they can in every area, and of course, Facebook Live is a great platform to use right now to do that for free, and also learning how to use Facebook for your church is also great. Hey, Tim, Mississippi, dude, we're representing tonight. This is great. Like it's all over. Tim is great. Tim could cook you something delicious. So if you want to come down, please come down. New Jersey, what?
David, over there on Be Live, click on the lower thirds so they can see who is David and who is Ryan for people. There should be a little lower third button that says your name and my name, and you can click show. That way it should show up underneath us here somewhere.
Okay,
who our name is.
Oh, yeah. I saw that earlier. Where did it go?
Maybe it's underneath our screen. No big deal either way. Nancy was, I think, just wondering. That's David, and I'm Ryan.
That is a good point. Like, yeah, you don't want to get confused because you're much better looking. So that's good.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
I think they're just messing with it. People are just messing with us now. It's just all fun. All right, what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and jump on. We've populated pretty high, and we want to respect your guys' time. I know that Ryan and I do this because we have young children, and so I know my girls just said hi to Ryan and went to bed and wearing their stylish PJs, and girls wearing her stylish PJs, and you can't get them confused because I have a Catherine and he has it's crazy, like Kinley with the K's, and so what we're going to do is we're going to jump on here on Tuesday night. When I was talking a little bit about making your website guest friendly, and I'll let that be a stepping stone to jump on with Ryan, and then we'll make another jump if too many questions aren't asked to what's too much with Facebook. How do you not stalk a guest but connect with them, or should you use other social platforms? But the first question was a good one. I had talked about how Lawton First Assembly, the church I was previously with, redid our website entirely with the idea of guest in mind. So guest-friendly language, easy for a guest to navigate, not a lot of Christianese. I know I said that word last time and everybody thought that was fun and it'll blow up the feed. That'll be a lot of fun. And so, but Ryan, why don't you go ahead and talk about how important it is that a website, the first door really in assimilation, because most people are going to jump on a website and watch a sermon or look at beliefs before they ever come to the church, how that affects the guest coming into a church. It has a pretty large impact.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we do research. So every person that comes to Summit Park Church, we send a survey essentially asking what are the questions. We ask them 10 questions on the survey. And one of the questions we ask is to check everything that influenced your decision to come to Summit Park Church. And then we have a list of all these different options that they can check. So we really want to see what is driving people to come check out the church. The website always ranks really high. And what's interesting for visitors is most of them will check like 3 to 4 things. And there's always a story when we meet new visitors at a church. They'll say, you know what, I got your postcard. Then I went and Googled you. And I looked at your website and kind of read a little bit about you. Then I went to your Facebook page and I saw my friend Debbie, in this case, liked your page as well. So I messaged Debbie and like, hey, do you go to that church? And Debbie's like, yes, you need to come check it out. So that person had 4 different things that influenced their decision to come. And all 4 of those things need to be prepared in a guest-friendly way to kind of help them during that decision-making process. So your Facebook page needs to be, because again, in this scenario that we see a ton, they're going to get on and check out your social media. They're going to get on your website. And so you need to be thinking through, people are jumping onto your site to think, okay, what type of church is this? What is the experience going to be like? Do I need to dress up? When are service times? What's the pastor like? So anything you can do to kind of break down those walls of fear that might be built up for a visitor. I mean, for a lot of us that maybe grew up in church, that are in church ministry now, if you thought about maybe going to visit a mosque, you know, I never visited a mosque, but I would be kind of like, what goes on in there? What would I need to do? What's protocol? In a lot of ways, our culture that didn't grow up in church, that might be how they're facing coming to visit a church. So your website really helps walk them through and lower the barriers to someone to come and visit your church. And then if you can do some strategic things to help that person even take that next step towards your church online before they even, you know, have to drive up. So if they can, let's say, pre-register their kids online, if they can go ahead and get a video maybe from your pastor that explains what the experience is going to be like, if they can see 90 seconds of a sermon that your pastor's preached, all those things are going to help a visitor be like, man, I want to go check out the church and start moving in your direction. So that's kind of an overview, David, of some things that I would recommend, and kind of a philosophy of helping, you know, visitors take that step on social media and on a website.
Right. And notice as a fast recap, Ryan said all of those things happened before somebody stepped into your church. And so all of the language, the pictures, the posts, how you share, the language you share, all incredibly valuable. I won't answer every question that posts on here, but when a question jumps off right away, I'm going to throw this out there for us, Ryan. What kind of return do you get on the surveys? And you've dealt with surveys before that you mail out, like as Joshua says, 90%. etc. What's kind of the trend with mail outs? A lot of people say, hey, don't do a mail out. I was listening to Kerry Newhoff the other day, and he was talking about the power of mail outs in his area. I thought, oh, wow. So there's somebody that's talking about the power of mail outs. So what have you kind of seen in the trend as far as America? I know Kerry's talking a lot about the Canadian area. So
well, let me break it into two different things. So like some people might be interested in direct mail. I mean, I think in a lot of church circles, you hear a ton about Facebook ads right now, which is rightfully so. We joke at Summit Park Church here in Kansas City. We thank God, and we also thank Mark Zuckerberg for a lot of our outreach. So we make that joke, but honestly, it is a powerful tool that has helped us reach a ton of people. But direct mail gets a bad rap, but it still has a huge place as a strategy for a lot of churches. There's a great times to use that for your church, and we could go. I don't want to go too far in depth. I just want to put that out there. Direct mail has a place. At the right time, the right place, it can be a powerful tool for a church. Now, if you're asking about our surveys that we send to new guests, we email those out. So when somebody comes, we do our best to get them to fill out a Connect card. We really push that, either a physical one or a digital one. And then we have a follow-up sequence that goes out, I think, for about 4 weeks after that, where we use text messaging and email, and the survey gets put in an email link that goes out that next week. And we typically don't get like a huge response on that, but we get enough to make a difference. We typically, I would say, get about one survey response a week, and we've been doing that since we launched 3.5 years ago. And we take those survey responses and we try to improve on what we're doing. And I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference, because if you're taking actual feedback from actual guests and you're making one little improvement every single week, you do that for 150 weeks in a row, and your guest experience goes way up. So I know return won't be high, but it will be extremely valuable what you do get. So if that helps, that would be kind of my answer on the percentage return there.
No, and that would be great too. On Tuesday night when we did the broadcast, I had told everybody that the power that comes from the low-hanging fruit is anybody that turns in a card or turns in a survey, you go after. Most churches I talk to haven't even really capitalized on those that are giving it. They're more concerned, why did I get 1 out of 10? What about the other 9? But your low-hanging fruit's that one that did. And so go after them with all of your energies and celebrate that one. And over time, it will grow. And so that's a really, really good point you have there. It's just one of the parts of the strategy. The survey is one part. Hopefully there's other parts of the strategy when it comes to guest connection. Yeah,
definitely. And David, I was talking to a guy today on a Facebook Live earlier, and they had 267 Connect cards filled out on Easter. And here's how, that's what I said. Here's how they did it. They did it via text message. And they said, hey, if you text in Easter to this number, we'll send you a promo code to get a free coffee at a local coffee shop.
Okay.
So people text in, they got an automatic response that was essentially, hey, thanks so much, here's your promo code. And would you take a second and fill out a card in your seat, in your bulletin, or the Connect card at this link digitally? And by doing that automated process, they got 267 Connect cards filled out. I thought that was a genius deal. So I wanted to share
what
that.
church was that, and are they hiring me? That's a ton. But you're right. That's a creative idea. One of the questions last week was, how do you connect with guests without covering them in paper? And there's so much paper that happens in a church, and that's where the digital question came up. What are the digital avenues for reaching people? And so we kind of addressed the website. We want to, again, respect people's time, and we'll track over to the other question we mentioned at the first of the broadcast, and that's this: Facebook and guest connection. When is it good? When have you gone too far? And is there better use of social media other than Facebook to reach potential people and people that have come into your church, which you want to connect to digitally without creating a paper trail a mile long? What are the digital aspects to guest assimilation?
Yeah. So from a very high level, here's what I recommend for most churches. Now, every church has to kind of take, this advice and kind of contextualize it. But for most churches, I'd recommend you have a Facebook page which is what I would call a public-facing marketing strategy. And then I recommend that you have a Facebook group that's more for your in-house family talk, because the biggest mistake churches make on social media is they approach it like a megaphone for announcements as opposed to a coffee table for a relationship. That's the biggest mistake. Everybody's church's Facebook page is just, hey, we're doing this women's event, we're doing this deal, we're doing that deal, and that's all it becomes. You want to make a Facebook group and do that inside your group, because that's the type of conversation that you can have within a group. Groups are made for that. It's not going to affect the algorithm negatively on that. And Facebook page, use that for anything that affects the majority of your church. And that would be like 80% or more of your church are affected by what you're talking about, or maybe a core value at your church is what you're talking about. And you're doing that towards your community. So going back to the example we talked about in the beginning, when people are invited to your church, they're going to come check out your church website and they're going to check out your church Facebook page. And so you want to have stuff that is geared towards them. And so when they're looking at that, they're like, man, this is the type of church that I want to check out. And mostly that's done via photography of your church, what's going on, and via video at your church. Those are the two main things that are going to go great on Facebook and Instagram, which would be the two main things that I'd recommend. And as far as just kind of, David, I would tell most churches to think of 4 words when they're thinking of the type of content that they're putting on their page to attract visitors. And the words I like are real. So don't use stock imagery. Use real photos, use real video to talk about real subjects. So your content on your Facebook page needs to be real. The second word is it needs to be full of life. It needs to be life-giving. Think smiles, energetic, uplifting. Like David said, he's the pastor of happy. He plays well on social media because he's the pastor of happy. It needs to be real. It needs to be full of life. It needs to be people-centric. So it needs to be targeted. It needs to be pictures of people, what's going on in people's lives. Again, avoid stock imagery. Use photos of your actual people and tag those people who are in your photos. And then the last one I would say is it needs to be adventure. It needs to be full of fun, excitement. And if you put all those together, real life people going on an adventure, and if that's what's happening on your church's Facebook page, you'll have a vibrant page and you will attract people in your community. And let me just say this, if anybody in the face of the planet should be real life people going on an adventure, it should be the local church. Right. I mean, if you read the Bible, it's real life people going on a faith-filled, God-sized adventure, and it's fun and it's attractive, especially towards millennials. Man, that's great. That's what we want to see. And so get away of just making announcements, what's upcoming. We could go really in depth of why that actually really hurts you on your Facebook page with the algorithm, and stick to that real life people on an adventure, and you'll have a vibrant Facebook page that attracts visitors. And then, David, we could go into tactics if we wanted to, in terms of how to use things like kids pre-registration, calls to action on there that helps bridge the gap between your Facebook page and your in-person experience, but that can get pretty technical really quick.
Yeah, what we'll do is anybody that is absolutely interested in everything we're talking about, it's easy to connect again to me or Ryan. We're highly active on Facebook, and Ryan, he talks about Social Church, easily go right now onto Social Church, find the group, like it, and you'll get free content every week. I watch the free content from it every week because I just don't have any money to pay Ryan. And so he gives me free content once a week. And I've actually utilized that. And I'll interject this. I've utilized it for my charity. I run a nonprofit that gives food to poverty children over the weekend. And I've used tactics on there. And so one of the things we do, I don't think we have to go real deep like you said, Ryan, but what we try to do in our group is only 1 out of 7 posts will be any type of post relating to what we are, what we're doing, an announcement or an idea to give. The rest of them are engagement posts, they're fun posts. We work with kids, and so there's a little bit of restraint, but we still have, we work with 9 schools, and so there's always parents willing to sign off forms and let us do pictures in the school, and that we work closely with what's private and what's not. And a lot of times we do pictures where nobody's facing it. They're just creative shots. And so people can do there, but it's work. And I think that's kind of where Ryan's going with it. It's work. It's work to write a sermon. It's work to get the worship set right. It's work to get the kids areas clean, ready for the volunteer, ready for check. I mean, it takes a lot of work. And so you have to be dedicated to the tactic, set some ground rules, and then do that. And so when I took over last year for this charity, they had about 33 people on their Facebook page. So that was like one of those womp, 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 womp. Like, I was like, oh. And their idea was, David, can you do this better? And I said, I don't know. So I learned everything I could. I love Facebook, but I didn't run any pages except for helping a little bit with the last church I was with. So what I did is I learned as much as I could and started inviting people, started running Facebook ads, started targeting particular groups of people and in concentric circles of areas. Like Ryan said, there's a lot of tactics. But literally in 14 days, we went from 33 people to over 500 people. And wow. I only spent $25 on Facebook ads. So we really maximized it. Now, we've spent more since then for crowdfunding. But, I mean, it's one of those ideas. You can get real deep in it. But, I mean, this works for churches, works for businesses. And it works for the nonprofit charity sector. But you just have to, like Ryan said, you have to have a plan. And you have to know how that is. Now, Ryan, when do you cross a line using Facebook? Let me jump back. Facebook, I like how Ryan said, have a group that's a fan page, have a group that's a group page. That can become very important depending on how things work in your church too, so that you can give out information you may not be as open to give out on more. If it's a personal page, you give out very limited information. When you have a fan page, you're kind of more broad. And so that's a good idea to make sure that you have the life of the church connecting. And it's also a way if people like your fan page and you move them from there into liking your group. And I think that's an important way of, are we assimilating people in the digital world, moving them from one point to the next? Okay, so that's kind of the summary. So back to Ryan, when is it when a church gets super awkward and turns into the Facebook stalker and it gets a little, I mean, what is there a blurry line or a line drawn in the sand?
I think honestly, David, I think most churches, if there's a spectrum between stalker and like we're dead on Facebook, most churches I think struggle with we're dead on Facebook. We don't have a strategy. We're not posting updates, and very few ever get to the point that they get so active on social media that they reach that stalker status.
Weird.
So I would say for the most part, churches have a long way to go before the people in their community feel like, oh wait, you're overdoing it. So I would say, man, you can go until maybe you start getting feedback of like, hey, that's a little much. I think especially if you're dealing with a Facebook page and you've got some sort of people skills, you should know when you're coming up against that line. And honestly, a page right now, whenever a church posts on average, a post is going to reach roughly anywhere from 2 to like 7% of your audience, which is terrible because Facebook lumps churches in with businesses and they want you to pay to reach your audience. Right. So churches, if you don't know that, hardly anybody's seeing your post. And so you have to put either a lot of strategy or a lot of money into your page for it to feel like, man, it's overwhelming. And that's where the group can come in, because let me give you a quick example. If you on your Facebook page go and let's say you have a women's event coming up this Friday, and it's a class that you're doing, some sort of workout class for some sort of girls this Friday, and that really deals with about 15 people in your church, and you post that on your page, and if your audience looks at that post, they don't engage with it, they don't like it, they don't comment on it, and they just scroll past it, what happens is the next time you post about something coming up, maybe your new service times, that 90% more than likely won't see that post because the last post you did, they didn't engage with. That's why I like to move that conversation that deals with smaller groups into your Facebook group, because it'll get around the algorithm that way. So I know I'm getting into the weeds a little bit, but I honestly, David, I don't think Most churches ever have to worry about being too stalkerish. Now, if the pastor or some of the pastors are going on their personal like profiles, and they're like stalking first-time visitors, and they're they're asking the friend request first-time visitors, I would say time out there. That's a little much. I would just probably do most of your conversations and interaction through your public church page, or if they join the group, within the group. And I think that would keep things, from getting a little bit creepy. Let me also say this. There's a strategy that a lot of people don't realize. Like if you're running Facebook ads, David, and you're putting, let's say, $10 to a funny video your church did, if you'll see, a lot of times you'll get a lot of people who like that post, but who like your page. If you go into your ads manager, now again, I know I'm getting in the weeds here, and you click on it where you can see everybody who liked that piece of content that you ran an ad to, Facebook gives you a little button that you can invite all those people to like your page. It's the cheapest, easiest way to grow your page likes, and it's a little tip that hardly anybody knows about. So it's kind of an interesting deal. If you've never done it, you kind of have to search around for it, but there's a little button that they give. Anybody who likes your content, who doesn't already like your page, it's really easy to invite them to like your page. So it's a little tip I like to give because it's an easy way to grow your page. And stuff like that, I don't think is creepy. I think that's, hey, they liked your content, and now you're saying, hey, if you liked your content, why don't you like our church page? I think it makes a whole lot of sense.
Right. I think the only time I ever engage socially with people that came for like the first time is we use, if they had listed like a Twitter or something of that nature, we would kind of tweet them, hey, thanks for being at church today. Or if they tagged that they visited so-and-so and geo-tagged something, it's a little easier to say, hey, and you're just doing an @ towards them, and you're not becoming like friends. And so I try to warn people on, a lot of churches get aggressive with having people with profiles that it may not even be attached to the church, so to speak. And it gets a little like, who's requesting me? And, I came one time. It doesn't mean like we're going to be best BFFs forever. So
keep it on your Facebook page, the interaction, and in your group, and you'll be okay without it getting creepy. Like you said, David, if anybody is talking to the church, like they're sending a message, they're using your hashtag, or they're commenting on your church's content, you need to reply back. You need to like their comment. You need to reply back. Everybody who interacts with you, you have to interact back. And let me give you another tip here. This will change your engagement for your church. I'm telling you, this is the best tip I can give you. Quit answering questions on social media and start conversations. So if somebody reaches out and asks you a question, we kind of approach it like it's email. Like, hey, they ask a question, I'm going to give them the answer. Don't do that on social media. Start a conversation. So if they say, hey, when's your service times, such and such church? You say, hey, we have 2 service times, 9 and 10:45. Do either of those work for you? What you've done now is you've started a conversation. They're going to comment back. You're going to say, okay, great, the 10:30 works for you. Can I go ahead and pre-register your kids online? They're going to comment back. Now you're developing relationships, and that's great for hospitality and guest experience. And guess what? It's also great for the Facebook algorithm, because if Facebook sees conversations going on around content, they drive a ton of traffic to that content. It's the best thing that you can do to increase the engagement of your church's page is stop answering questions and start conversations. Try it out, and I guarantee you, your reach will go through the roof.
Yeah, and see, I'll even add a little bit to what Ryan said. This is the part where I feel kind of cool as an guy. But ask an open-ended question. So like Ryan said, there's 10, and do either of those work for you? It can be a yes or no, and they're kind of out. But you can say, what other info about the church can I give you? Making them respond with you can't say yes or no. Like you have to kind of say, oh, that worked, but you got them to respond with more than yes or no or K. And they're just, a lot of people like to put the okay. I don't even put like the okay. They just put K. I'm like, come on, man. It's just 2 letters. Okay. So that's a great idea. Question real fast we can answer is, Joe said, can you make the survey that Summit Church uses or others? Yep. I'll try to collect some of those, and I'll try to do a post on leadinghappy.com tomorrow as a follow-up for resources, and I'll link those to a Dropbox where you guys can download some of that stuff and look at that. And there was one other question I thought was pretty good to say. Oh, yeah. So Joe asked another great one. He's asking about yours, Ryan. Tell people how they can find a social church real easy with the free content.
Socialchurch.co. A lot of people say, do you mean .com? No, .co. If you go over there, we do a tip of the week, and every single week, and you can subscribe so you get the tip to your inbox every single week, which is probably the easiest way to get it via email. Or you can like us, on Facebook. Social Church Co. is where we're at on Facebook. Either one of those, and then you can go back in the archives and check it out. We do, again, every single week we do a tip of just how to grow your reach on social media. So a lot of the questions I see popping up, we cover in that, right, where you can go back and maybe look at some of those past examples. And Facebook is one of those deals where if you really want to be good at it, you got to really dial into a lot of the strategy. If you want to go to that next level, there is a lot of strategy that it takes to keep growing your reach. But it can be done without a whole lot of money. You just have to know how to do it.
Yeah, and Stephanie is a good friend of me and my wife's. We grew up together in the same youth group. And she said some of my posts reach 100 plus people, others only 12. Is there a way that I can make this work better and make my reach without paying? And I think that's a question lots of people ask, because I think a lot of times pastors in a church that don't know a lot about social media are pressuring their media pastors or their youth pastor, kids, whoever's running media, or even a volunteer, like, well, why can't you do that without money? And I think this is a good point to say. Ryan already mentioned it, but it's important to invest on the monetary side of Facebook. And one thing I can do is I'll let Ryan answer it, but if you go to Carey Nieuwhoff's, Carey Nieuwhoff does a great podcast I listen to frequently. His last guest was Steve Fogg, and he talks about the importance of what Facebook has done. Facebook has monetized everything on the pages side, so you have to pay, and that's why their church uses Facebook Live so much, because it's not monetized yet. It goes out to – it actually populates that for free. So when me and Ryan jumped on, it started populating people that like church, that liked assimilation, that liked social media, and it started finding them. It looked, I know it's creepy, right? Ooh, Facebook. Yeah. But thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. He did this for us. And it's like all this Google stuff, it all connects. But when it comes to your page and you're wanting that content, if it's valuable and important, it's going to have to go out. And so you may have a post that reaches a lot and a post that reaches a few. And so Ryan, kind of dive in there with Stephanie's question on, because I know you're a little more of an expert on the side of that side of the equation than I surely am. So
let me pick it up what you were saying where Stephen Fogg left off. And John Maxwell, how he loves all his laws of leadership.
Yeah.
So I got cute one day and I came up with the law of social media, and I call it the law of early adoption. And it works the opposite of technology. So when technology comes out, it's the most expensive it'll ever be right when it comes out. So if you want the new 4K TV, you're going to pay the highest price right when it comes out, right?
Absolutely.
Social media is the exact opposite. The law of early adoption that I came up with is if you jump on technology early, it's the cheapest that it will ever be, and you'll get the most bang for your buck that you will ever get. So Facebook Live right now, what they want is they're competing against Periscope. They've already put Meerkat out of business. They're competing against YouTube Live. So they're going to make it what? They're going to make it free. And then they're going to push it. They're running millions of dollars of ad spends to push Facebook Live. So they're going to give you bonus points for using it. Then guess what's going to happen a year from now? We're all going to have to pay to have Facebook Live, either to be on it or for it to go anywhere. But the law of early adoption says if you do it now, you get the most reach for the littlest cost. So that's my John Maxwell wannabe. But if you understand that, Stephanie, you can use that to your advantage to get your highest reach. Now, your question as far as posts, I recommend for churches, you guys need to monitor that much like a football coach would look at game tape and see like what went right and what went wrong, and you need to learn from that and then adjust accordingly. So you need to look at your post and see like, okay, the post that reached 100 people, what caused that? Was it a picture of one of our people that we actually tagged, and so that went viral? Was there something about the language or the post that really helped us? There's some things that even if you're using certain words on Facebook, that Facebook will kill. It will not let you use things like maybe like dollar signs, a click, link, So if anything that sounds businessy, you may be talking about a missions trip, raising money for a missions trip. Facebook may look at that and say like, oh, they're trying to sell a product. Woo, woo, they're going to kill that. Okay. So you need to think, there's some things you have to think through, but by going back and looking at what posts went well, and then if you can dissect why they went well, then your team knows, what do I do different in the future to keep more of that and then less of the things that aren't working. So there's some very big things that are happening that are driving why some of those things went well and why they're not. And again, those weekly tips, we walk through some of those hacks, tips, and tricks on how you can get much more reach. So let me give you just another one, for example. When you do a post, if you can do what's called an instant reaction. So if you've got a big post, something big coming up for your church, when you post that content, if you can immediately have some staff, some key volunteers, some people like it, comment, and share it like right away, what that does in the algorithm is that tells Facebook this must be good content, and then that content goes big. But what happens is the opposite is true. If a post hits and it's crickets, Facebook kills it, because Facebook knows if content is good, it's going to make them money. If content is bad, people are going to go do something else. So if you can trick Facebook into thinking your content is awesome by doing an instant reaction, it will help you. So there's some little tricks that you can do to hack the system for free as a church. The See First feature is another big one. We could go on and on and on, but you just have to study, game tape, if it will, learn what's working, why is it working, and then just repeat more of that. So hopefully that helps give you some ideas moving forward, Stephanie.
And I think I like to encourage people too and add some value. All of you are doing, a really good job. We're not saying people aren't doing a good job. I know Ryan and my heart are very, very similar. And so what we're trying to encourage you, though, is like Ryan said, everybody that wants to be better gets better by review. And you could really have a bang up post that probably 1,000 people would enjoy or like, but you just kind of posted at the wrong time. So like Ryan said, some people, if you want to do a really good blog, you post it, you let it go launch at 6 a.m. because people are more likely to read then than at night. And I know so many bloggers that post at like 10 p.m. It's not going to work. I know bloggers that will post at lunchtime, and you can catch certain crowds, but your highest time to post is 6 in the morning. I don't know why. So write it the night before at 9 o'clock when you normally write it, instead of posting live at 10, post it that morning, and then it'll get your traffic. And so the same idea works with Facebook. Kind of watch what the timing is and those issues, and that will be an incredible help to you also. And I want to answer Nancy threw a question on there. Why did I make a ministry move? I actually still volunteer as a pastor for a great church here where I live in Branson, and still very active in ministry, still ordained with the Assemblies of God. I just get my income from a different way, and then I'm able to offer the services that I've honed in a lot of churches that were running thousands of people, but I'm helping a church that runs 250, and that's a huge blessing for me and for them. And so still active in ministry, but running a charity right now as far as income goes. And so thanks for asking that. And Steph said, thank you. You're welcome, Steph. Good to hear from you. And Stephanie's all the way up in Colorado, so we got the snowy hills of Colorado Springs. So thanks, Stephanie.
Colorado Springs. Nice. Very cool. It's a beautiful area, man.
Okay. Well, we'll stay focused because we won't want to go much longer before we drop off. And Nancy talked about coaching. Yeah, Ryan and I both do coaching. We probably do a little different. We're probably more consultants, if that makes sense. And so, and yes, I do. I coach churches under 300 for free. I coach or consult with churches over 300 for cost. And that's because most of the time after 300, you want a little skin in the game because those pastors are going to be busy and staff. And under 300, they can't afford that. And so I will never say no to anybody that wants to get better. That's just my mission. And that's like why Ryan gives free content away, but yet you can also, for cost, get more information. And so we don't want to really make this like a pyramid scheme thing. Like if you're watching now, jump on and buy our book. Which do you have a book? I don't have a book. We'll get a book eventually. And we'll do a book.
We need to co-author a book.
We could do that.
Everybody needs.
I think we could.
Yeah,
We're
let's do
actually taking pre-sale money right now, but we haven't started.
Oh man, how to not fail in Greek class. That should be our book.
Yeah, I was. Well, what's funny is I think I did. I did really. I was really. I didn't do as great as I wish at Evangel, like you did, but I was great at Greek. So it was kind of funny. Like everybody's like, "Dude, you must have been really good." I was like, "Well, other classes weren't so much. I did great in Exodus, did really bad in math, so that's how." But when I did grad school, it was like totally different. I was like stoked about grad school, and so I was like all in, and I was like in undergrad, I was like summa cum, pass the potatoes, and didn't get nothing. And but in grad school, I finally got to tassels, which I don't really know if that mattered. I'm just in debt more, so So, thank
awesome.
you. Thank you for that.
We've strayed wildly. I wonder if anybody has any final questions. I want to make sure we answer anything that people are wanting to know on the social media hospitality side. And David, I didn't know if you want to go anywhere else. I know we were just getting off topic there. We could talk about Evangel a lot.
No, yeah, if you want to help us offload debt, feel free to. My PayPal account is no, I'm just kidding. So, Ben, good question. Yeah, there'll be content they'll be able to see later, and you can always ask a question, by messaging Ryan or I. We're very active on Facebook again.
What's Evangel?
Oh, Dalton, it's the place that. Oh, okay, there's people watching that don't want to get into it, Mr. CBC. So, he gets it.
My wife went to Central Bible College, so
my wife went there for a while, but then I converted her. It's my success story.
That's awesome.
So one of the church I volunteer with, one of the pastors on staff, Professor Best, was on staff at CBC for years, and now he's a counselor and teaches out at C of O. And so great guy. I love him to death. And my wife remembered when he was out there. So if you have a question, you can drop it real quick. We will stay online for about another 5 minutes or so, unless the question is so bang up, we'll make money. I'm just kidding.
Nancy's asking a good question here about
go ahead, Brian.
Kids pre-registration. She's asking, is it wildly successful to let potential church people register their visits and kids ahead of time? Nancy, if this is almost becoming my mission in life, is for churches to offer kids pre-registration. And I say that jokingly, but I also say that seriously. I know maybe 10 years ago, it was kind of like churches need to have a website. And then like 9 years ago, it was like churches need to offer some sort of online, offering, digital payment offering. And I think now the biggest mistake churches are making in the marketing space is they do not offer kids pre-registration. It is a huge, huge tool. So like, if you're going to go, there's so many things that we can do in our culture nowadays. Like if you're going to go to Disney or you're going to go just about anywhere, a lot of times you can start that customer journey way in advance. And I'm telling you, every church has people in their city that have at one point or another have had good intentions to come visit your church. They just have never got there yet. And so if you can offer kids pre-registration, here's what that does. It makes all of your marketing materials on the front end so much better. So when you're talking about social media and inviting your community, you can put on there, hey, go ahead and pre-register your kids. They can go ahead and start taking steps towards your church. Now here's what happens is they pre-register your kids. Guess what? You have their phone number and you have their email. Even if they never come to your church that Sunday, you can start the relationship building until they do come. Also, guess what too? Now that you have an email, you can send them a email saying, thanks for pre-registering your kids, right, and have it come from your kids pastor, your lead pastor, and say, thanks so much, and walk them through, hey, here's where our guest parking is going to be. Here's where you come in, turn right when you come in the front door. That's where you're going to go check in your kids. Here's where they're going to be. And you can break down the barriers so much. And I'm telling you, it is a game changer for churches. Every church needs to offer kids pre-registration online. It is huge. I could talk about kids pre-registration all day long, but I'm passionate about it. I love it. And I think it should be at every church.
Right, because that is going to be the biggest and the most nerve-wracking for anybody visiting a church for the first time. How do I get my kids there? How do I get there early? What's registration going to be like? It can be very, very nerve wracking for the first time person. And I said this on Tuesday, and I want to reiterate it here. Even though you've been to your church 2,000-3,000 times over and over again, you lose the eyes of a guest who you might think, I am so sick and tired of looking at our logo. Someone saw your logo for the first time right now online, and it impacted them. And so don't think you have to change your name or your logo or this. What you have to change is your approach on how you're using your online. And like Ryan said, you can do that by making sure up front that, hey, we make it easy for you to register your kids. Here's how, boom, you will, in essence, we're not saying we're trying to beat other churches here, but that does give you a particular interest to people that are new in town to say, they value my child, I value my child, let's check out this church. And that can be really important, especially if someone's de-churched and they went to a place that maybe they, for some weird reason, didn't have their child valued. To see a child being valued could bring them back to church. And what a big kingdom win if that happens.
Yeah. And Dalton, you're asking about church community builder. Yes. In fact, that's what we use at Summit Park Church. We have a form. So we create one of those public forms. So when somebody wants to pre-register their kids, they fill out that form on Church Community Builder. That dumps it into the back end, then notifies my wife is one of the people on that form notification that, hey, we have a kids pre-registration. And man, it's so cool. Every week it's neat to see new families pre-registering. It's so awesome. Sometimes we have families they find out, hey, my job is transferring months from now to the Kansas City area. They've already pre-registered their kids to come check out Summit Park Church. It's the coolest. It's the coolest thing. They've already started that relationship with us. But yeah, CCB will notify you, hey, you have a new form fill out. You can go ahead and get them assigned to a kid's classroom. That way, when they walk in, you could even, if you're even a small church, you could greet people by name. You could have guest bags ready for them. You could go over the top with hospitality, and you want people walking away from your church saying, that church thought about everything and they cared about me so much. Right. And that's honestly, pre-registration starts that, because you're saying, we care about you. We want to take stress out of your Sunday morning. We've thought about this process. We're going to save you time. We're going to make this easy for you. And so when that person walks away, they're saying, man, I don't know if I bought in yet to what they believe. I do know that they care about me and that they love me. And if you can make that impression on a visitor, man, that is a huge first step. So I'm passionate about it. I'm a big believer in it.
Right. And then Dalton asked kind of a similar question to that. Any church software tools that allow for kids pre-check? I'll let you answer out there, but I know right off the bat, Dalton, sometimes people fret about buying new software. One of the things you can do is create a free form builder, get the information you need for your system, then plug that stuff in later for them. And you don't even have to buy anything new, but there are, I'm sure, things out there. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so hopefully most church software, church management software, what David's talking about, allows you to create some sort of form that then at least dumps that information where you have access to it. So I would say 80% of church management tools will allow you to do something like that. If you're in something that's pretty archaic, you might have to go to like a Wufoo, a form builder, a Google form builder. Just create a simple form. Again, you can just start somewhere where they can at least start the process, and then you can get all the final information when they get there. But start somewhere. But yeah, if you've got Church Community Builder or Fellowship One, you could probably retrofit some of their tools to make it. I'm passionate about this, but I think every one of those tools should build this into their system. I think it's a no-brainer. I think that's probably coming the more times I harp on this, and the more churches kind of demand it. But until then, you might have to kind of retrofit your tool to make it work.
Right. And that could be super common. And so there's always a creative way. I think Craig Rochelle probably got famous for saying it best. When you lack finances is when you become the most innovative. So lack of resources plus exponential inspiration creates overwhelming growth, in your life and in your church, because you're going to get really creative with that. So, but great question, Dalton, too. And I know Dalton's with a great network of churches here in Springfield. And so, Dalton, I'd encourage you to kind of talk with the network and the team about chatting a little bit more with Ryan in that area offline. And thank you, Brent. one of my old bosses. Love that dude. He is legit. You remember Brent, don't you, Ryan?
Oh yeah. Oh
Money
yeah.
guy. So he said we're doing a good job. Thanks, Brent. It's past his bedtime, so he just dropped off, went to bed. Oh wait, this is recorded. Like I shouldn't have said that. But we want to respect people's time. I try to go 45 minutes. We went 10 over, but there was great questions for that. And I'll have Ryan jump back on again. What I do is every Tuesday and Thursday night, I try to jump on at either 9 or 10 o'clock Central Time and do something. And right now as a series, we're talking about guest assimilation. We've had Ryan on here with www.churchmarketinguniversity, socialchurch.co, not com, co, C-O, if that's enough for you, Dalton. I'm just kidding. And so we want to make sure that you guys have access to the free content that's out there, and you can catch a lot of I do a lot of volunteer stuff. That's one of my heartbeats, is volunteers that are healthy, serving, not getting burned out. And you can find that at leadinghappy.com, which is where I'm at. And you'll see actually articles Ryan has written for me there. And so I want you guys to know that. And so long listener, first time caller, just want to say, oh, thanks, Jason. Jason and I worked together for forever long. And of course, Jason's with the church I was at, got to be at BA and really grew in the ministry, and obviously worked quite a bit. Knows Ryan's dad. Obviously, obvious to us, not obvious to everybody else. But thanks, Jason. That's really cool. That means a ton, bro. And Brent said still awake. See, I knew I shouldn't have done that. This stuff's live. Like, there's no edit button for me. This is dangerous. But what we'll do is I'll probably try to bring Ryan on maybe next week on Thursday, or maybe even a couple weeks on a Tuesday, and we'll kind of follow up with more questions. And so if you message me questions or message Ryan, it helps us build up the forum better and start right off with those questions instead of kind of trying to work those things up. But very cool. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, you can find more about Ryan at socialchurch.co and churchmarketinguniversity.com, and you can find more stuff on what I'm doing at leadinghappy.com, because I think everybody should be happier, should lead better, and have as much free resources as they can. And we will utilize Facebook Live until Facebook monetizes it. And so, yep. Mark, give us another year or so, bro. We're people for free. Okay, I know you're listening right now. The algorithm caught you. Ryan, give them a parting word before we jump off.
Man, this has been fun, guys. Hopefully, just keep up the great work. You guys in the trenches of the local church, you guys are so valuable. I know it gets after Easter. There might be a little bit of a drill and dump. Hang in there. Keep up the good work. Make progress every day. Keep faithful to what God has called you to do. We're here. David and I are here to resource you, come alongside and say, hey, keep it up. So way to go. Keep up the good work, and always fun, David. This has been a blast.
Ryan, thanks a lot. And guys, have a great night's sleep. We'll talk with you next Tuesday, 9 o'clock.
Peace. You might have to hit stop twice.